Yeah, and one thing to note about Farniok is that also Florida State has got to be able to build an offensive line. If you think about offensive lines in college football, Stanford is usually in those top names of having a strong unit, and those are usually some big boys, and they're developed very well. So I think in a lot of ways, I think these two hires will mean a lot more later on.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Nan. You're listening to Hear the Spirit presented by No Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. We're listening to Hear the Spirit presented by No Game Day. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spirit presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. FSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What's happening, guys? This is Logan from Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day. I'm going to be with our lead writer and editor, Dustin Lewis, and our lead basketball writer, Austin Veazey. We've got a lot of content to talk about tonight. We have a lot on the dock. We're going to talk about some transfers that will be leaving Florida State, some guys that are actually might be joining and are intending to join Willie Taggart at FAU. Also, we're going to talk about the few new additions to Mike Norvell's staff. We're going to talk about the national championship that is coming up between Clemson and LSU. We're going to talk NFL playoffs. We're going to recap the Wake Forest game that Florida State basketball defeated on the road. And then we're going to answer a lot of y'all's questions that you gave us. I think y'all gave us over about 15 questions in a matter of 2 hours. So definitely appreciate you guys throwing us all of that content that we can use here. And we're going to try to run through every one of them in the next about hour and a half for you guys. But we're recording this on Thursday night. What's going on, guys? Good evening.
What's going on? The longest intros of any FSU podcast out there.
Yeah, they just keep going on and on, keep rambling.
Every time I'm like, oh, it's over, it goes on a little bit more.
Yeah, I get a little nap in, I get refreshed for the rest of the podcast. I've honestly grown to appreciate it at this point.
Gives me plenty of time to get set up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. This gives you a lot of time. Even if you're listeners too, you can go grab a drink, go make your popcorn, or if you're driving, then if you're at a
Just
red
crash.
light. Well, we're not hoping that anybody crashes, but please don't listen to what Dustin just said. Please drive very safely. Please drive very safely. But you know what's crazy is the intro might be working because we have been gaining a lot of listeners and new listeners, and a lot of y'all that have been engaging with us on Twitter and YouTube and everything. So we're extremely thankful and welcome everybody to Hear the Spear. And I always try to remind you guys, if you're listening through some of our articles that you're reading through nogameday.com, I highly suggest you go hit the subscribe button on Apple. If you have Apple product, Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button there. Spotify, do the same. YouTube. So then you'll be notified on your app, on your phone, with a notification every time we release a new episode, because that's a lot easier than going through an article and hitting the play button. So most certainly do that. I highly suggest it. But yeah, we don't have much time to play, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Like I said, over 15 questions. We still have a lot to talk about what's going on with Mike Norvell's staff and some players that are leaving Florida State. And the big one today was Trey McKitty, tight end, and also Juan Williams, offensive lineman. Right now, Florida State only has one scholarship. There are two scholarship tight ends, Cameron McDonald and Carter Boatwright. That's kind of hard for me to say. I've screwed this up twice now. But that's just a true freshman that's on campus. And Cameron McDonald has had some experience the last couple of seasons, not a whole ton, but we've heard some good things about him this last off season. But yeah, what are y'all's thoughts on Trey McKitty and Juan Williams leaving?
Yeah, I just thought it was very, very surprising, at least for McKitty. He wasn't really a guy I had pegged to potentially transfer or anything like that. In fact, I thought he would possibly flourish in Mike Norvell's scheme, considering the usage of the tight end. And now it's not going to happen. But I can understand it. He went through 3 head coaches in 3 years. He's had 4 different offensive coordinators, 3 or 4 different position coaches. So, like with some of the other transfers that we've talked about before, like you can definitely understand why they would want to go get a fresh start somewhere else, even though it seems like Mike Norvell is bringing good things to Florida State. And then in the case of Juan Williams, I just think he realized it's going to be his redshirt senior season, and he's not going to be a starter at Florida State next season. FSU, they really want to land another grad transfer offensive tackle to shore up the left tackle spot. Obviously, we know what we've seen production-wise out of the entire offensive line the last couple of years. So Mike Norvell and his staff, they're attacking the transfer portal, trying to upgrade the roster, and with those upgrades, some guys are going to have to go.
Yeah, like you said, Dustin, the McKinney news really surprised me, given how much we've heard that Norvell's systems heavily feature tight ends, and McKinney seemed the obvious one to step in line there. So to see him want to go elsewhere, it was a little surprising, but he also did graduate early, so might as well go to a place where you have a better chance to win if that's what he chooses to do, or if he wants a certain coaching staff, whatever. And then, yeah, like the same thing with Williams. He's a redshirt senior. He wants to play elsewhere. So Williams, I wasn't too surprised about. McKinney, I was definitely surprised about.
Yeah, I'm with Austin, too. I'm not too incredibly shocked from the news of Juan Williams intending to transfer from Florida State, the Trey McKinney one. Yeah. It looks like maybe he thinks he wasn't being utilized for what kind of talent he could bring to the offenses. And, he went through a lot of, coming in as being a tight end for Jimbo Fisher, and then he goes through with Willie Taggart, and then you go through Kendall Briles' offense. So it's kind of all spread around, and I do hope he can be utilized in the way that I think he could be. And, things were kind of shifted around in the last couple of offenses that he had to go through. But he's obviously athletically gifted, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. And I'm sure there's a lot of colleges that will be interested in bringing him on the team. But, yeah, like Dustin also hit on it, that obviously offensive line is something that this staff is incredibly focused on. And it doesn't really shock me maybe to be moving on from a guy like him or more that just haven't been able to find much success as a product on the field. Wide receiver DeMarcus Adams is going to be joining Willie Taggart at FAU. And then also wide receiver Trayshawn Harrison, defensive lineman Malcolm Lamar, and offensive lineman Christian Armstrong are no longer listed on the updated roster, which we'll kind of hit on here in a few minutes. But Trayshawn Harrison, right, Dustin, he was visiting on the west coast of Oregon State a couple of days ago, correct?
Yeah, Trayshawn Harrison and his mother actually went out and checked out Oregon State over this past weekend, and 247 Sports confirmed that he's no longer enrolled at Florida State. So that officially ends the Trayshawn Harrison era at FSU. DeMarcus Adams also gone. And Malcolm Lamar, he's in the transfer portal, not on the roster anymore, so we don't expect him to return. And then Christian Armstrong, he's a guy that I've heard potentially could be medically disqualified. So maybe that's something that happened here, or he just decided to transfer out. But Jesus, I can't even say it. Interesting. Oh wow. Cut it.
Dustin is on a roll tonight.
Is Logan on mute?
Yeah, I am. Dang it, I was laughing by myself. And I was talking about that we've had multiple screw-ups through the week. I love how I'm just talking to myself, and here we are having another screw-up. I was talking to myself about how proud I was of us not having any kind of things where I have to edit it. I just was like, no, there's not been any screw-ups lately, but here we are. Dustin started it, and then I just continue it. So, Austin, you'll be next in a few minutes.
Oh, I'm sure. Usually I just flip through it and keep going.
Yeah, you do. You just roll with it. We're not. Thank God we're not live though. I don't think radio is our spot yet. Not yet. But yeah, no. I think what's interesting with Trayshawn Harrison is, we saw as a true freshman coming in, he had a lot of tidbits with talent, and he was making plays, and a lot of FSU fans and people covering the team were excited to see him play, and definitely this last season. But he's kind of dealt with a little bit of the drop situation that he was having on the field. I do still think that can be fixed, and he also is, I think, his catch and then run is special that he could bring. He's got a backspin. He's fast, and I think he'll be utilized hopefully wherever he goes in the right way. But the other two aren't too really shocking. Definitely, like yours, noting on Dustin with the medical situation with Christian Armstrong, then it's not shocking whatsoever to see guys maybe not be able to be with Florida State anymore.
Yeah, it's just kind of strange. All four of these guys are from Tribe 18.
Yeah, that is correct. But yeah, I guess so. But then I'm trying to think, because Trayshawn Harrison was highly recruited from Willie Taggart too.
Yeah.
It shocked me too much that he's intending on leaving and obviously visiting schools back on the West Coast because he is from Washington. But some of these two are I don't think it's, I guess you could say, a huge hit to Florida State either.
Yeah, I mean, really, Adams, Lamar, and Armstrong have all been pretty far down on the depth chart. We haven't really seen much of them during their time at Florida State. And Harrison himself has been a sporadic contributor that we were kind of hoping would take a step forward in his junior season, because he definitely has the athleticism and the ability to be a deadly athlete on the field. He just hasn't yet at Florida State for whatever reason. So hopefully at his next stop, he can get consistent playing time.
Willie Taggart is going to be bringing on some former FSU staff. Raymond Woody and Stanford Samuels will be joining. Stanford Samuels will be joining him at FAU. And Willie Taggart is going to continue to kind of make a new staff, which if anybody has kept into it a little bit with Willie Taggart and what he's building, he's kind of bringing in, kind of splitting off from what he had at FSU and still bringing in some guys that were coaching in Tallahassee. But yeah, Raymond Woody and Stanford Samuels are going to be joining his staff at Florida Atlantic University.
It really makes me wonder what's going to happen with Raymond Woody III, who's still listed on the updated rosters. He going to enter the portal and follow his dad down to Florida Atlantic, or is he going to stick in Tallahassee at Florida State? I wasn't surprised Woody followed Taggart down there, and not really surprised by Stanford Samuels going down there either.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Austin, neither hire is very surprising. Woody and Taggart, they've been together at multiple stops. And then Taggart actually is the one that hired Stanford Samuels Jr. to a defensive analyst role before the start of the 2019 season. And now instead of being in an off-field role, he gets elevated to be a position coach on the field. So, I mean, it's just it's a no-brainer opportunity at that point. He just gets to continue moving up the coaching ranks. So, good moves for both of them.
There's a lot of conversation, too, about quarterbacks, and after the play with Blackman, and we got to see a little bit of Jordan Travis in the bowl game. But, the main thing of coming away from it, Blackman had a really rough time in El Paso. What we learned now is that Brady White, who was the quarterback from this last season, there was some idea and some contemplation that he would maybe be a grad transfer and he would be going to another college. But that idea has now been squashed about maybe Florida State bringing in a grad transfer, because Brady White is headed back to Memphis. There was maybe some thoughts that he would be coming to Florida State under Mike Norvell. But, we were hearing from Norvell that there was no intention on bringing a grad transfer quarterback, and that does seem to be the case. What are y'all's thoughts on, Brady White staying in Memphis, and he's not going to be coming to Florida State with Norvell and staff.
Well, those comments you just referenced, Norvell did make those before the bowl game, before he got to see James Blackman turn the ball over 5 times against Arizona State. So I think after the bowl game, people were kind of thinking, all right, it might be a good idea for Florida State to get a grad transfer quarterback, especially with how Blackman just looked. And Brady White, his former quarterback, was available, and the fit just made sense. We've talked about it a couple times on previous podcasts, but White signed with him at Arizona State when he was the offensive coordinator, followed him to Memphis, and with the option to transfer on the table again, many thought he would go to Florida State if he did decide to transfer. But he's going back to Memphis. I don't really think there's another quarterback on the market Florida State really takes a look at. I know there's KJ Costello out of Stanford. I don't really see FSU taking a shot at him.
Yeah, like you said, Norvell stuck to his guns with his comments saying they weren't going to pursue a grad transfer quarterback, and that showed with Brady White returning to Memphis. I've said all along it really depended on what Blackman decided to do, and since he's still listed on the roster, I think that's it for quarterbacks in the quarterback room.
Mm-hmm. One thing that has been a big hit today, and obviously one before it too, Lanier Coleman, coming from Ole Miss, is going to be joining Coach Storms, the strength and conditioning coach at Florida State. Lanier comes from Ole Miss. He joined them in 2015. He was a big help in developing A.J. Brown, who is a wide receiver with the Tennessee Titans, and also DK Metcalf, who is obviously has been a star for the Seattle Seahawks, who are currently in the Seahawks. Both players, obviously A.J. Brown and Metcalf, are both in the playoffs this year. But Lanier Coleman is going to come in as an assistant strength and conditioning coach. If you guys haven't seen any pictures of DK Metcalf and also A.J. Brown, I highly suggest you go. Either it's on my Twitter or just search it on Google. I promise you'll see the pictures. These guys are extremely ripped. They don't look human. And also, if you look at Coleman too, as a coach and a strength and conditioning guy, he is absolutely a monster. He is gigantic. He looks very scary. I think he posted a video today on his Twitter. He was had a Thor little arm thing on, and he said, "Let's get to work." So obviously, I think this is a huge hire for Florida State, building up the strength and conditioning staff. And also Tom Farniok. Hopefully I got that right. I'm awful with last names, as everybody knows. He's coming from Stanford, and he also is going to be assisting the strength and conditioning staff. And obviously, we've seen things the last couple of years, for a long while, of how the good size and how athletic Stanford players are. Just look at these two hires. I think are huge for Florida State and what they want to do in the weight room. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree, because now they become the 4th and 5th members so far of the new strength and conditioning staff, joining Josh Storms, Nick Dowdy, and Darian Jones. So Florida State, we've talked about it. The team hasn't really progressed much in the weight room, and we've talked about how small they look on the field compared to other teams, particularly in the trenches. And I think having a staff this big, this diverse, and this experienced can only help the program.
Yeah, and everyone's going to be excited for the Ole Miss guy coming in with the training success of Metcalf and Brown, like you mentioned, Logan. But I'm excited for Farniok coming from Stanford, because the men's basketball strength coach came from Stanford as well, and he's worked out all right. He's been here almost 20 years now, so consistency there, and I think it's going to hold up pretty well.
Yeah, and one thing to note about Farniok is that also Florida State has got to be able to build an offensive line. If you think about offensive lines in college football, Stanford is usually in those top names of having a strong unit, and those are usually some big boys, and they're developed very well. So I think in a lot of ways, I think these two hires will mean a lot more later on, and we'll be able to see where they'll be utilized. They'll be featured a lot in the coming months. Now that it's the off season, they already put out a video today showcasing a little tidbit of them working out. But these are some big hires that I think Florida State fans are happy about and excited about. I know we kind of were curious and this last offseason there was a lot of development you saw between Cam Akers squatting a lot of weight, but Cam Akers is a different animal, but he was squatting about the same weight as some of Florida State's offensive linemen, and that shouldn't really be the case in my opinion. I mean, I know Cam Akers is Cam Akers, and there's some really strong running backs both in college football and NFL, but Cam Akers was squatting more than a good majority of Florida State's offensive linemen. I think bringing in Farniok and also Coleman. Coleman was very successful at Ole Miss. Look at the way that their players look and how built they are. But like Dustin said, Florida State has struggled so much. I mean, looking at past linebackers that have been with huge size, and we want to have guys to go in and hit their gaps correctly and bring some kind of size and implement that into bringing some physicality to the team. That's what hopefully Coleman and Farniok will bring on with Storms on the strength and conditioning class.
Yeah, and another potential addition, Josh Hampton from Alabama, the assistant director of sports performance for the Crimson Tide. Nothing official yet, but just based off all the follows, he's followed most of the FSU strength coaches pretty recently and the FSU football Twitter. So something to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm, most certainly, that is nutrition and Alabama. Just put those two things together. I think that will go in and tell you the Alabama boys. They are built differently. I mean, and the SEC usually is, but Alabama is just a different animal, and they also feed them some kind of different food that I don't know what it is, but it hasn't been in Tallahassee in a very, very long time. I can't remember a big linebacker that Florida State has had. I'm trying to think of like Nick Moody, Christian Jones. You put those two next to Dontavius Jackson and Emmett Rice. It's just not even close. It isn't whatsoever. And we've had former Knowles on here too that have talked about, even Reggie Northrup too had a ridiculous amount of size, and he talked about they just don't look the same like we used to, and so hopefully you can see these guys get developed because looking at Clemson, even their DBs are the size of Florida State's linebackers. It's nuts. I know that you got to go east and west a lot more now to be able to cover ground with these new offenses and how fast paced they are, but sometimes you got to have a big boy in the middle, inside linebacker that can go and stuff the run, because Florida State has lacked that for a very long time. So it's always interesting. Like Dustin handed on him, they do grab the hire from Alabama. I think that is another huge thing for Coach Storms and Norvell for the offseason. The offseason, like a lot of head coaches will say, is the most important part of the season.
Yeah, the support staff at this point is getting pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it? I mean, they are bringing on a boat load of analysts and off-field guys, right?
Yeah, I mean the staff in general. It just seems like there's already a lot more guys than there were when Taggart was here. I don't know if he took advantage of the analyst and the ability to add this many strength coaches like he maybe should have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit of national championship. Why don't we? What are y'all thinking about this game? Because I just watch LSU's highlight videos and their hype videos and all this kind of stuff, and that just tells me that LSU is going to win this game. I was questioned about it on the Mark Rogers show last night, and I was asked if LSU has too much attention right now. They're going to be distracted that they're going into, they're still close to home playing their national championship with it being in New Orleans. But I don't think it's that way for me. I think they ride off of the momentum. They ride off of the attention that they're getting, the hype, everything. I think that's what Ed Orgeron likes, and that's what they're used to as a family there at LSU. So I personally am going to pick LSU here, but I do think it should be a closer game. But I do predict LSU to win 34-24.
Oh, we making score predictions here?
Oh, we're going to do it. If we're gonna do it, Dan, we do it big, Dan.
Yeah, Logan, I agree with you. I think LSU. I think they're the better team here. I don't think Clemson is as good as they were a season ago, and LSU, they've just been on a different level than any other team in college football this season. And I think it's going to continue. We saw them blow out Oklahoma to start the playoffs. I think they beat Clemson by at least 10, and that's if they play a pretty bad game. So I'll say LSU 42, Clemson 24.
I think Clemson's too well coached to make it that big of a deficit, honestly. Dabo's done such a great job since he's been there, and he's been in this moment. He knows what it takes. But LSU obviously is the better team. They played like that all season. They dominated everybody. Hopefully they just score less than, I think it's, 38 points for them to take over our all-time scoring record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I also think LSU wins, but I think it's going to be by one score. I think it's going to be 35-32-ish.
I just think Clemson, they're going to get exposed in this game.
Well, I would love it if they did. I just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, and this also, there's two streaks that Florida State's 2013 class, streaks and a record that are at risk. Obviously, LSU can score enough points in this game. They will score more than what the 2013 FSU team did, and having the most points scored in a season. That record is at risk. And then the streak that Clemson is currently on, which is that 29-game winning streak, is they're both Florida State held 29. Clemson is at 29. Clemson could break that and hit 30, and that would be tough. So we got to be able to pick something here where it's not enough. So how many points did you say, Austin, that LSU needs to score? 38.
I think it's 38 to tie, 38-9 to beat it. I think.
Okay, so I'm picking. So my pick's really good. It keeps Florida State safe in both the record and the streak, at least staying tied with Clemson. So Florida State. That's why I'm going LSU. Yep, 34. Clemson 24. So I just keep it safe in all areas. I'm just a smart man, I guess.
You think LSU only scores 34 in this game?
With Clemson's defense, yes.
Clemson's defense isn't that good.
Well, they'll figure out a way. Venables will figure out a way. Venables was struggling a little bit in the beginning of the game against Ohio State, but they figured it out. That's one thing about Clemson. I feel like they're magnificent. They're really good in the second half part of their games, just like how Florida State did.
That's what I was about to say. They remind you a little bit about 2014 Florida State without as many close games.
Yeah, I feel like Jim or Dabo learned a bit about what Jimbo had to go through with having to make a lot of changes in that locker room in the second half, because Florida State fans would be so comfortable, it being maybe a struggling game in the first half, but they'd feel pretty confident about the second half. It'd be a whole nother game usually, to be able to stay alive. Definitely in 2014 for FSU, where it felt like every game was coming down to the last quarter, if not the last couple of minutes.
The total of this game is 69.5 points. Logan, what was your score again?
34-24 LSU.
All right, so 62. That's not too far off of it. I said 42-24, so that's right around the mark as well.
Yeah, I said 35-32, which is 67. So
yeah. So we're all right around there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see who's right, and if whoever loses has to do 20 push-ups on the next podcast.
Whoa, I don't even know if I can do 7. After 7, I tap out.
Yeah, and I've got a bad shoulder, so no one needs this.
Bad shoulder, oh my gosh, Jesus Christ. So here the Spear is not going to be able to compete in any kind of podcast, CrossFit competition. That's all I'm hearing.
Well, that's why we're talking behind the mic.
Yeah, that's why we kind of waited a little bit not to do this on a live stream, right? And just to bring it up, Dustin, how was your Chick-fil-A today?
It was good.
You were telling me earlier when we were on the phone that you were enjoying it. So I was just asking.
Thanks, man.
What'd you get?
What is happening?
I got some chicken nuggets, bro.
What sauce though? Because this is where a lot of listeners.
I got barbecue sauce.
Oh my god! Come on, Polynesian. If people are here, we go. We'll do another thing. If y'all are still listening to the podcast right now, reply or tweet us and tell us what your favorite Chick-fil-A sauce is, and I guarantee a majority of them are not going to say barbecue sauce.
Well, I wouldn't expect most people to choose barbecue. I'm unique.
Yeah, you are unique. That is very true. Let's talk a little bit about NFL playoffs while we're at it. Minnesota is going to be at San Francisco on Saturday, Seattle at Green Bay also. Tennessee is going to be at Baltimore, Houston at Kansas City. Hopefully I said the dates right, or where they're going to be or the dates. I think Minnesota plays at San Fran on Saturday if I'm okay. So yeah, playoff talk. Dalvin's going to go to San Fran, which I feel like is going to be a really good game because I feel like Minnesota's offense, which I know Austin will be able to talk a little bit, but I feel like San Francisco's defense though is tough. But I think it will create a good matchup. And then I'm a hidden little bit of a Seattle fan. I'm still Pittsburgh. I die, but I'm a big Marshawn Lynch fan, I guess you can say. So I pull for the Seahawks. And then Tennessee at Baltimore, I would just love everything and just get on my knees and pray that Tennessee would beat the Baltimore Ravens because screw the Ratbirds. And then good old the savior of all of Clemson and all of God and Jesus Christ, Deshaun Watson, is going to be facing Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. What are y'all feeling about the playoffs this week? I'm excited. This has been a great NFL playoff start so far, and I'm excited about this weekend. I'm planning on just sitting back and relaxing and watching every game.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a really good slate. Austin, I'm gonna make a fan out of you tonight. I think Minnesota is gonna pull the shocker of the playoffs and upset San Francisco on Saturday.
Wow.
I think we're gonna lose by 20. So, you know.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. San Francisco's getting back D Ford and Quan Alexander. Quan Alexander's been out since week 9, and since week 9 they've struggled without him. With him back in the lineup, that defense is going to be back to how they were in the first half of the season. But they are susceptible to play action passes, which the Vikings are really good at. So we'll see, but I'm not expecting much. And apparently Adam Thielen got a cut on his ankle from a cleat, and he's questionable for Saturday. So
yeah, but Adam Thielen, he's been questionable like all season. He screwed me in fantasy with his hamstring, dude. I remember to just cut out of this real quick. In week 3 of our fantasy league, you sent me a trade request for Adam Thielen. I should have accepted that shit.
I did?
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I honestly don't even remember that.
Yeah, I know. It's just sad. I came in like 7th place.
I haven't even looked since week 6.
Don't look. It's over.
Okay.
But anyway, I think Minnesota, they're going to upset San Francisco. The Seattle at Green Bay game should be pretty good. And I think Tennessee is actually going to keep it a little bit closer than expected against Baltimore. I think Baltimore pulls it out, but it's going to be like a 1-possession game, like a 4-point spread. And then I think Kansas City is probably going to dominate Houston, honestly.
Yeah, I've got San Fran big. I've got Seattle by a touchdown. I think Green Bay is a lot of fool's gold. I just think they're an average team, but they played a weaker schedule since they finished 3rd in division last year. Baltimore, I think, is going to run away with it. And that Kansas City-Houston game, I'm really looking forward to that one. Kansas City will probably win, but you can't ever count on Deshaun Watson.
No, I'm going to go at San Fran. Ugh. You know what? I'm going to say the upset also. I'm going to go Minnesota with Dalvin Cook. I'm going to go I want to pull for Seattle so badly. I do think I think playing at Green Bay is just different. I'm going to go Green Bay. I'm going to go Baltimore, and I will go Kansas City. I feel like Deshaun Watson, he can't do it all, even though he is the savior of us all on earth. He's not going to be able to save Houston and get onto the AFC championship. Not going to happen. So, yeah, those are my picks, too.
You think so highly of Deshaun Watson, don't you?
I really do. I have actually a mural of him in each hallway in my house.
Yeah, is it stained glass?
Yeah, stained glass. And also, I have under my rear view mirror in my car, I also have an image of him. So
I don't even know what to say to that.
You don't say anything. That's the key. That's the thing. I know we have a wake recap. We'll bounce to that at the end here, but I want to talk about this. I want to give a question to you guys, and I'll give my answer too. We put out a tweet on Twitter saying, if I owned Doak Campbell Stadium, I would blank. So pretty much, what would you do to Doak Campbell Stadium if you owned it? Would you upgrade? What would you add to it? What would you take away? This is all you have all the money to work with. You could utilize it in whatever favor you want it. What would you do if you owned Doak Campbell Stadium?
First, I'd fix the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi has always been bad. Well, just cellular coverage in general has been horrible there. But Wi-Fi is priority number one.
Brutal.
Yeah, that was kind of my answer because it's like the cop-out answer.
It's also the needed answer.
It is needed. I agree. I try not to go sit in the stadium on game days because I know the cell data will be terrible and I won't be able to tweet.
Yeah, that is the hitter because I have Verizon, and if anybody's still listening to this podcast, the LTE for Verizon is just god awful. Sometimes I switch to 3G and it works. I'm not even going to say that because it might give off the secret, but LTE is just god awful with Verizon in there, and I think a lot of other services. And then the Wi-Fi is hit or miss, and it's mainly just miss more than anything.
We'll say when do you hit?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. But whenever I went to the Dallas, whenever we played, or Florida State played Oklahoma State in the Dallas Stadium, I know this is a whole different animal. It's a friggin' mall and garden and art everywhere. But the Dallas Stadium was absolutely gorgeous, and the Wi-Fi there just hits you at a different level. You get plugins to charge your phone and everything. It's like life changing. That was just a beautiful world for someone that just doesn't stay off of social media. So I got to charge my phone while I was there, have fast speed for internet. So yeah, I think Wi-Fi would be a big thing for Florida State fans and anybody going. But I mean, y'all are being boring. I mean, why don't we add a little bit of shading?
That's what I was. You didn't even let me get to mine.
Well, I mean, y'all were being boring. Austin's like, just give me Wi-Fi and I'm good. I mean, let's get some interesting things here.
I want retractable shading that can shade the entire stands and the Florida State sideline, but provide sun directly onto the visiting team. Break that thing out at noon. I mean,
oh yeah. You're suffering.
What did you say? We'll probably still win in Doak, but
well, what we saw this last season, Florida State really needs the shading because dehydration on the field was a big problem.
Yeah, I was gonna have a second answer. I was gonna say move the basketball team in there so the home team would have success.
Dang.
Dang. Make it a dome. Man. Let's see some hoops in there.
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be dope. Dope in the dome. Well, that's actually sounding like dope is in the dome, so probably not. Let me retract that.
Yeah, I was like, what? Dope in the dome.
I mean, if I have, I mean, I got all the money in the world from what this statement tells me, so I own Doak Campbell Stadium. I'm going to add the bleachers situation is just god awful. If you're sitting in there, anyways, I know, and we're being prissy here, honestly. I mean, I can deal with it. It's only 3 hours or so, but you are squeezed into other people inside that stadium. I mean, sometimes people are big, so they take up like your spot and a half, and you're like keeping your legs tight as all get out. And if you have long legs like me, I'm like my knees are up to my friggin' chin during games because I have to bring my legs back. And people bring in their they rent their little back. What do you call it? Like the seats with
seat backs.
Seat backs. And whenever people put those on their seats in front of you, that already eliminates a lot of your room 2 on your knees. So by that time, I'm able to put my knee in my mouth while I'm in the game, and it's just a really rough experience. And for a majority of the time, I haven't had to worry about that because we're usually standing because Florida State's playing well. But whenever you sit down, the last couple of seasons, which has been the majority, it's been tough on my back, my legs, and I think I might just cry about it later.
And hey, while we're expanding the seat size, can we get like a pin for all the children or something? Dude, there was like a 3-year-old sitting behind me at the NC State game, just rubbing against my back for like 2.5 hours, just smacking me in the back of the head. I'm just sitting there trying, I'm 25. I'm just sitting there trying to be mature, trying to be polite. I wanted to kill the child.
Dustin.
Like I was about to just throw a random elbow back there. If I hit the mother, I mean, my bad, but take care of your child. Got some freaking beast running around. Dude, it was like a heavyweight title match against my back. I'm just getting body slammed every now and then. I just spill drink everywhere because I get smacked in the back.
I wish I could have been in the background just watching that.
That's probably the best part about that entire game.
Yeah, I bet. Well, you got like a free massage. What are you complaining about?
I guess.
And one other thing too, I would like to see upgraded. And I know it takes a lot of money. I'm not like roasting what needs to happen now, but if I were to own Doak Campbell Stadium, I would definitely revamp, clean up the inside of Doak Campbell Stadium when you walk in. It looks. I've been to a lot of other stadiums, and Doak Campbell Stadium is a little bit left behind in the way it looks like inside of the stadium, walking around and the stands and whatnot. It is kind of tough.
Just walking into rebar and shit.
Yeah, it's very outdated, and you got water leaking on you whenever you're leaving the stadium.
The bathrooms suck. The bathrooms suck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's upgrade the bathrooms too.
Yeah, let's just do it all. So yeah, if we ever owned Doak Campbell Stadium, that would be our first projects to start on. So yeah, let's get into the Wake recap. Florida State defeats Wake Forest on the road by 10. Hopefully I'm right on that, correct?
Yep, 78-68.
Boom, look at that. I'm smart. But yeah, Florida State beats Wake Forest, and it kind of was a roughy game from the beginning. But like Austin had mentioned and on Twitter, this was going to be a big game for seeing how mature this team was, coming off of a big win against Louisville on the road there too, seeing how they would play at a lesser opponent, and it seemed like they were able to pull out the win and then show the country and the Noel fans that that they're about the serious business. They want to keep this season going on the winning streak.
Yeah, they're able to overcome Wake Forest and the second worst official in the ACC, Jamie Luckey.
Who's the worst?
Teddy Valentine, of course.
All right, I agree.
The first half was it was a mirror image of the Pitt game. All Florida State's bigs got in foul trouble. Wake Forest kept hanging around. Harrison Prieto had to play a lot of minutes. Shout out to the weatherman, by the way. It just felt very Pitt-like. And then the start of the second half, Wake Forest starts out on an 11-0 run. Florida State was turning it over. They were taking bad shots. Next thing you know, Florida State's down 4, and then they take the lead again. Don't give it back. It was a great game for their growth and maturity. They showed they wanted this game, and they weren't too big for the moment, even though it wasn't much of a moment. It's Wake Forest. It helped Wake Forest was without Sean D. Brown, one of their best scorers on the season. Florida State looked good. I'm very happy with how the game ended up with how it could have gone.
Yeah, and really, I thought one of the only reasons this game was close was the free throws. It felt like in the first half, Wake Forest was basically getting to the line at will. Austin, I don't know if you know the exact number of free throws they took in the first 20 minutes. But
in the first 20. I remember at one point the foul discrepancy was like 12-6 or 12-5 in the first half. And I think we'd taken 6 free throws to their 18 or 20.
Yeah, it was bad enough where Jamie Luckey had to warn Malik Osborne, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so I was sitting 4th row behind the bench. And I remember at one point he turned to the bench and just pointed at Malik Osborne and said, if he does this again, he's done. Malik cracks me up. He sat the rest of the half with a towel over his face.
I love Malik Osborne.
He's great. His energy is contagious.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The energy he brings to the team on defense. I mean, whenever he makes any type of play, especially a big play, he's just screaming, pounding his chest. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want on your team, continuously making sure your guys are fired up. Like, he keeps everyone in the right mindset for the entire game. And
this is back-to-back games. He's hit dagger now. Against Louisville was the alley-oop, and this game it was the 3 on the pick and pop. Anytime he's on the floor, you know he's going to give it his all. He's going to pump the crowd up. He's going to pump his teammates up. If every roster had a Malik Osborne, college basketball would be better for it. But I'm happy he's at Florida State.
Yeah, and I've noticed really the last couple games he seems to be a lot more comfortable with what he wants to do on offense. In this game, he had a really good post seal move against a Wake Forest defender that went for an easy bucket inside. And then his defense, I mean, he's out there on the perimeter as a forward, forcing a steal and then taking it the other way for a slam. So I really, really love what you're seeing out of Osborne at this point of the season. And then a guy we talked about last podcast who we answered some questions about and his struggles, Raekwon Gray, he came to life against Wake Forest. He went 3 out of 4, hit a 3. He didn't do so great at the free throw line, but I mean, that's the most encouraging game we've seen from Gray in quite a while.
Yeah, since the USF game right before Christmas when he had, I think it was 11 points or 13 points.
Yeah.
But he was quiet the first 26 minutes of the game, I think it was. And then he hit the 3 with the 14-minute mark to give Florida State the lead, and he scored 9 points in the next few minutes. To see him confident and see him attacking the basket at will, it was so great to see him playing with confidence. It really just changes his whole play style.
Yeah, and he was dealing with foul trouble that whole game. He had 4 fouls. He only played 13 minutes, still scored 9 points. So, I mean, this is what we talked about last week. We wanted to see Raekwon start to find his rhythm again, and hopefully this performance is the beginning of that.
Yeah, and even if you went 2 of 6 from the free throw line, even that's okay because Wake Forest did something where if a visiting player missed consecutive free throws under the 8-minute mark, everyone got a free chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. So we ate well, we won. It all worked out.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, that's why the crowd got so loud when he was at the line with like a minute left.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
but just
What's
like
your favorite sauce? What's your favorite sauce, Austin?
Oh.
Hot take. I don't eat Chick-fil-A with sauce.
Ooh.
All right, Austin. We're gonna send you to a doctor to be checked.
Chick-fil-A is just so good; it doesn't need a sauce. That's all I'm saying.
I don't eat my chicken sandwich with sauce.
So not even like ketchup for fries?
No.
Wait, what about the nuggets?
Nuggets plain.
I mean, I can eat a plain nugget. I can see it.
And most of the time I get grilled nuggets anyways.
Oh, excuse us. You ever get anything grilled there at Chick-fil-A, Dustin?
No, actually, I wanted to ask Austin, what do you think about the grilled nuggets while we're here?
Pretty good. They're pretty good. I can't lie. They're pretty good.
Because I always see the commercials, and they're advertising the grilled nuggets now. I'm like, man, I should really try those.
Yeah, our old director of ops at basketball, he got grilled nuggets all the time. I'm like, yeah, maybe I should try them. And they're pretty good.
Chick-fil-A should really sponsor this podcast.
Please.
I should, honestly. I mean, free Chick-fil-A for life wouldn't be too bad, I guess.
But away from the Chick-fil-A, back to basketball, guys. Once again, your 3 leading scorers for Florida State are Trent Forrest, Devin Vassell, and MJ Walker. MJ, he didn't have as good of a performance as he did against the Cardinals. He went just 5 out of 14. But he went 3 out of 8 from 3, which is honestly pretty solid for that amount of attempts, almost getting to 50%. And he had a monster dunk at the end of the game that really just it put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, he jumped from the ACC on that on that dunk. If you check out my Game Changing Plays article, I included a bonus play, and his dunk was that bonus play. That play was the only play that got me out of my seat the whole game because I just couldn't believe he actually dunked almost from the free throw line.
Yeah, just a random energetic dunk with like 40 seconds left.
Yeah, and the first half he was great. He was making everything. He was making contested twos, easy threes. In the second half, he looked as hesitant. He was making up his mind of what he was going to do in the second half without reading the defense, and that caused like the charge that he got. He kept dribbling in the defense when he would have had open threes, stuff like that. He can just go back on film and he'll be able to see, okay, I could have just shot that there. Trent Forrest finished with a double-double on the game, 14 points, 10 rebounds, and also added 4 steals. Devin Vassell showed off his best NBA repertoire with league-worthy moves. Remember there was one, he caught the ball on the left wing, got into the post, and then did a post-turn fade. I'm like, he's gone.
It's crazy how smooth he's gotten over the past year.
Yeah, he really has. And then for Wake Forest, their 2 leading scorers were Brandon Childress and Olivier Sarr. 50% of their points came from the free throw line, which is all you need to know about how many points they had.
Well, they went to the free throw line so many times. They only shot the ball. Yeah, they only shot the ball 48 times on the game. Florida State shot it 62 times, and the rebounding battle was exactly the same.
And even the fouls ended up being the same because Wake Forest kept fouling down 12 with 2 minutes left, and they had like 6 fouls there.
I hate that.
Yeah, I do
when
too.
College basketball teams do that because NBA teams, whenever the discrepancy is like that, they just give up. They're like, yeah, we're playing again tomorrow night.
Let's just move on to the next game.
College teams foul for 2 straight minutes when they're down 15.
Yeah, and everyone could tell that it was over. A lot of the Wake Forest fans had already left anyways. When it's just a 12-point game, or when it's a double-digit game under 2 minutes, just let it go. Let the fans get out of there. Let your team recover. It's not worth it.
Well, are y'all done?
Austin, if you don't have anything else, I think we're good to move on.
Yeah, 'cause we're saving Virginia for the next podcast, so we're good.
Yeah, next podcast will be. Can we spill our guest? Are we allowed?
Yeah, spill it. Go ahead, please spill it. I was gonna do it, but someone go ahead.
Austin, you do the honors. You're getting him on here.
That's true. We're bringing on Arya Masudi. He's with ESPN and he does play-by-play and sideline work for ESPN. And you've probably seen him work with Florida State women's basketball and men's basketball. He's a good friend of mine. I've had a lot of great chats with him over the last few years, so we're excited to have him on here, the Spear, next week.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. I know Arya very well too. He is Tallahassee native local guy too. I've known him for a good while. He's a good dude. I'm excited for having him on too. Definitely for a big matchup for Florida State at home. I'm excited. I'm hoping I can go to that game. So I'm excited for having him on as a guest. We actually have a lot of guys listed as guests that we're going to hopefully have on in the next coming weeks too. So there's some excitement there to start off the year for Hear the Spear too. Just a note. Y'all ready to get into some Q&As because we have, let's see, how long have we been recording? 50. So we got about 40 minutes to run through a lot of these questions. And we want to thank everyone again. If you're on Twitter, you can follow us at Hear the Spear. And if you ever have questions, feel free to tweet us. But we have a lot tonight, so we'll go ahead and jump right into it, both football and basketball. Let's see. Number 1 here comes from Mike Mick G51. He asks, any concern of Raymond Woody leaving Raymond Woody III leaving the program at some point with his dad not being on staff anymore?
Yeah, I touched on it when we talked about Woody leaving for FAU. I wouldn't be surprised if Woody III left, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he just decided to stay in Tallahassee. It's not much of a concern, I'd say, just because Norvell and the staff have been so aggressive recruiting on the road and not afraid to hide their feelings if they don't want anyone on the team. So I wouldn't call it concern, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, I remember before Raymond Woody committed to Florida State, he got this question a lot. Would he like to play under his dad at the next level, or would he like to play on his own? And he said it would be nice to play under his dad, but it could really go either way for him. So I think even with his father moving on to Florida Atlantic, we'll still see Raymond Woody suiting up in garnet and gold.
Next question comes from X Buck Deer X. Asks, do you think Mike Norvell had a word with the players that went into the transfer portal that they weren't needed?
Yeah, Mike Norvell, we said it, I believe, a couple times, but he's met with every single scholarship player and walk-on on the roster at this point. So some of the guys moving on, I'm sure he kind of told them, hey, you might not fit this new system that we're bringing into Florida State. It might be best for you to look at your other options. And, in the case of a guy like Malcolm Lamar or Christian Armstrong, they might have just told him straight up, like, you might not be talented enough to play at this level. And, I don't think this is the last of the departures we'll see this offseason. I think we'll see a couple more guys go too.
Yeah, I think this applies more to guys like Stanford Samuels III and Jawan Williams. Guys like Trey McKitty, I think he made that decision himself because he's obviously talented enough. And then Trayshawn Harrison, he had been a tag guy the whole time. Everyone else, yeah, they probably just got processed out.
Mm-hmm. Next question comes from Caden, and then a lot of numbers. He asks, I love each of the new hires. Who of all the new coaches has the potential to leave us for a head coaching position first? Actually, that doesn't come from Caden. That comes from Rocket Boy 666, and I think he also reached out to us last week with another question. So I like the perseverance here of hitting us up with questions. But he asks, which coach out of this staff has the most potential to be a head coach? What do you guys think?
I would say Dillingham. His innovative mind. I think he's going to be the first one to go if anyone does.
Yep, I agree with you. I think Dillingham, he's a rising coach, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if it happened after 2020, but if he's still around as offensive coordinator in 2021, at that point, I definitely think someone will give him a shot.
Yeah, bright, young guy that's coming in, and obviously a lot of the offensive-minded coaches also get a bigger chance at getting head coaching gigs too. So it wouldn't shock me either if that's your best bet at getting the next head coaching position coming from Mike Norvell's staff. Thank you for the question, Rocket Boy. Next question comes from Caden and a lot of numbers. He says, break down what positions you think we have the most skill and depth at for next year. For me, I'm still going to go with wide receiver position. I feel like Florida State has a lot of talent coming in. Obviously, still waiting on word from Malachi Weidman, and then things are going to work out there on that end, I do think. And we've heard from Malachi Weidman saying that he does still intend to be with Florida State. There's just some things that are tying him up. But, I mean, that wide receiver unit is loaded, is extremely talented. That's why earlier when we were noting on a few guys that aren't going to be with Florida State's team next year, DeMarcus Adams and Trayshawn Harrison, Florida State's wide receiver unit under Ron Dugans has a lot of talent. But for me, it's probably going to be the wide receiver position group. There's a lot of guys that are going to get a good chance of playing next season. And he still returns some very good players, too, that, Keyshawn Helton, who obviously we saw a video yesterday of him actually being able to run a little bit in the training room, maybe not in full weight, but at least he's being able to get some motion going after his season-ending injury. You bring back DJ Matthews, and then you got a whole load of younger guys that are going to get a chance, and I'm really excited about Jordan Young. So wide receiver unit for me.
Yeah, I think the deepest and most talented part of Florida State's roster has got to be the defensive backfield. Even though they've been feasted on the last couple of years, I think new coaching, a new scheme, and just really a fresh start will help all of these players get back to playing like they should. I mean, most of these guys, 5- and 4-star recruits across this entire position group. Plus, you have Jaden Lars Woodby and Brendan Gant moving back to defensive back from that star spot. So overall, the defensive back, bringing in Demore Tate as well as a talented 4-star safety. Cannot remember his name.
McKnight?
Yeah, McKnight. I can't remember his first name.
Jaden?
Yeah, I think it's Jadarius Green McKnight.
Jadarius, yeah.
But bringing in 2 talented recruits to the defensive backfield, I'm very excited to see what they look like under Adam Fuller and TJ Rushing.
Well, I will go a different route than you two. I was going to say wide receivers, but I think a very, very close second. Maybe not in terms of depth, but definitely in terms of skills, the defensive line, especially when you're bringing back Marvin Wilson, Joshua Kando, Janarius Robinson, and Corey Durden, all back for another season. Plus, you have the trench monster, Robert Cooper, backing them up in the middle. I think that's definitely got the most skill across the entire roster. Marvin Wilson probably would have been a first-round pick if he left this year. Durden had the chance to be drafted. Kando and Robinson, maybe not as much, but they've made the plays this season before Kando went down with injury to show that they can be consistently great players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that, both of you are talking about depth that's on that defensive side. And throughout this offseason, I think we're going to hit on a lot of it about, how to me, I tweeted yesterday about how dangerous this defense could be. It just really needs an overall good defensive mind, and you got to hope that Adam Fuller brings that. And, Florida State always brings in DBs. Florida State's bringing back a loaded defensive line. That defense could get scary, too. And I actually spoke with someone close on the team that is in the DB department, and he talked about the new Florida State defensive back coach, TJ Rushing, and the player on Florida State's team told him a few of his friends actually played for Rushing at Memphis, and they really respected him, and they really liked that TJ Rushing was going to be coaching for them at Florida State, and they respect him, and it's good to hear that. And obviously, Florida State has struggled the last couple of seasons defensively in that backfield. So it's always good to hear, an actual player really liking the hire, and also his friends that played at Memphis for him, telling them that they got a good guy coming into their program. Next question here is going to come from 81070. Thank you for not having a lot of those numbers back there. Let's see. Asks, hey guys, great show. Thank you. Thank you for listening. As always, thank you. She asks, please explain the transfer portal process. Seems like a risk if no school team shows a transfer any interest, which is actually a good question. I mean, this is still a new thing and topic that's going on. I mean, it's recently implemented into the college football world, and I think it's a very good question to bring up. What is like? Players are taking a risk, if they enter the transfer portal, but they can kind of reassure themselves that they do still have a chance, of course, to stay at Florida State.
Well, the thing that's interesting about the transfer portal is that once a player enters the portal and starts to be contacted by other schools, the school that they're currently a member of is allowed to revoke their scholarship. So I think one of the big reasons that right now and today in particular we saw a lot of guys decide to leave, not show up on the roster, or enter the transfer portal publicly is because today was the last day of drop ad for classes. So their classes are probably already paid for the rest of the semester at this point, and they'll have the rest of the spring to find their next destination. Whereas if they would have made that decision in December, they'd be looking at having to pay for this entire semester of classes out of pocket.
Yeah, and just get more into what the transfer portal is. Basically, it allows players to test the waters with other schools and allows them to be contacted by coaches and see if they want to leave. But just because they're in the transfer portal doesn't mean that they actually will leave. They can still come back to the school that they're at, or they can take visits like Trayshawn Harrison's doing right now with Oregon State.
Right. But one thing I want to make clear is once you make the decision to enter the portal, your school can take away your scholarship.
It's a good answer then to that question, because I obviously wasn't educated enough on that. So Dustin Lewis, thank you very much for that.
And Austin.
Appreciate it. And Austin. Sorry, I wasn't listening to Austin's part. I'm sorry, Austin. I wasn't listening. I kind of ignored it. My bad. I don't really listen too much to people that don't use sauces on their Chick-fil-A, so it's all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Next question is from FSU for Life. Patna asks, how many more players do you think will transfer, and how many more Did I say it right?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you
It's
did.
just
You
funny.
did.
It's
This
it
is a
it's
great ad.
funny. It is a great name. I love
Patna.
it. FSU for life.
Patna.
Patna. How many more players do you think will transfer, and how many more offensive linemen will join the Tribe? Another good question here, because obviously offensive line is a big topic and big need also for Florida State and Mike Norvell heading into the 2020 season.
Yeah, so I think Florida State, they're going to be able to get between 6 to 10 more high school prospects and then at least 2 more grad transfers. And out of that number, at least 3 offensive linemen, at least one grad transfer offensive lineman, and at least 2 high school prospects.
Yeah, I think for how many players do you think will transfer? I'm assuming they're meaning how many will transfer out. I think we've heard all the players that will have transferred out by now, because as Dustin said, today, the day we're recording, which is Thursday, was the last day of drop ads, so classes are finalized. If we see any more transfer, it'll maybe be 1 or 2 more. That's it.
I think there could be some guys that'll transfer at the end of the semester. Guys that graduate in May will be able to grad transfer and be eligible for August. So I do think we'll still see a couple more departures, but at this point, the roster is almost set.
Yeah, and how many more offensive linemen will join the Tribe? Well, I agree with Dustin. 1 grad transfer and 1 high school prospect.
I said 2, but you're close.
Okay.
So Austin doesn't listen to Dustin.
Yeah,
Because I use sauce on my Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Let's see. Alex, and then a lot of numbers, asks, what tight end are we going to push to feel somewhat comfortable with that position group? So we already noted on it earlier with Trey McKitty leaving that obviously you lose a scholarship tight end, so you're left with Carter Boatwright, true freshman, Cameron McDonald, who's been at Florida State for a few years now. But what does this do? He's asking what tight end are we going to push to feel somewhat comfortable with in that position group?
I think McDonald's got a lot of skill, but he's more of a hybrid wide receiver than a true tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if they went after a grad transfer tight end to fill that role that McKitty's leaving.
Yeah, Florida State, they're pursuing ULM grad transfer tight end Josh Peterson. He's a guy that we talked about a podcast or 2 ago, I believe, but he had 90 something yards and a score against FSU during the 2019 season and has been a good contributor for the Warhawks over the past couple years. So I think Florida State, they're going to end up getting Peterson, and they're also pushing for one of the top JUCO tight ends, Austin White. So those are 2 names to keep your eye on for Florida State to fill out the tight end position.
Booyah. So that kills off the rest of the football questions that you guys gave us. Thank you again. As always, we were going to try to do this every week, definitely at least during the off season. And we definitely appreciate you guys tweeting us. If you're not following us on Twitter, I highly suggest doing it at Hear the Spear. So let's move on to the basketball segment here of our questions that we received. Thank you guys. Jeremiah, and a lot of numbers, asks, who was the most intimidating player on our roster to an imposing team? What do you guys think? What's y'all's opinion?
To me, there's 2 definitions of intimidating. There's the guy that you want first off the bus. There's that intimidating. And then there's a guy that they fear most when they're watching film. To me, the first guy off the bus is Dominic Olenichuk, because he's just this gargantuan man that's all tatted up and he's Polish. You just don't want to mess with him. But then the guy that they fear most when they're watching film, you could go with any number of guys. You go with Trent Forrest, Devin Vassell, Malik Osborne. There's a lot of guys that they're watching film going, man, we don't want to make this guy angry.
I'm just laughing at your answer. I think
he's Polish.
Physically, the most intimidating players on the roster are probably either Malik Osborne or Patrick Williams. And then, like you said, Austin, if you're watching film, I would be very scared to go up against Trent Forrest as an opposing point guard. just because of the length and just he has so much skill. He's a senior at this point. He knows exactly what he wants to do every time he steps on the court.
If this were to be a few years ago for the most intimidating that doesn't revolve around watching film, and if it's just getting off of the bus, Michael Ojo would be that.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. I would not even lay a finger. Well, I wouldn't even be able to lay a finger on him, but I don't. I wouldn't be able to reach his face. Most certainly, I might be able to try to like get at his like knees or something, but he is a monster. But that's from a while back. That cat is just built differently.
Yeah, it's been 3 years or so for Ojo. I miss Ojo. I'll say it, Austin. You can tell me what you think about it. He was 1 year away. If he had one more year of college eligibility, he would have averaged a double-double.
Oh, no, I 100% agree. Well, maybe not double-double, but he would have been talented enough to reach the NBA because he was getting NBA workouts even after that offseason. And then seeing the work he put in that summer to try to get to the NBA, because I rebounded for him a lot that summer. He looks so great. If he had had one more year, he would have been in the league. I firmly believe it. And happy belated birthday to the big fella, by the way. His birthday was last week, I believe.
Oh, sweet deal. Happy birthday. Next question is going to be coming from Mitch_Cobb from Twitter. He asks, who generally draws up our plays out of timeouts? Some of those are beautiful. So Austin might have a good call on this.
Can I guess?
He's allowed to say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd guess Stan Jones.
You would be guessing correctly.
I'm pretty sure he runs like the whole offense, yeah.
He draws up 99, if not 100% of all those after timeout plays. And a lot of those plays are already in the playbook. But he's the one that makes a call that, hey, we're going to run this out of the timeout.
You talked about it before, Austin, that they have so many different options coming out of a timeout for a play.
Yeah, he's got an entire binder full of plays that he can flip through and go, I could run this. But he's also been with Coach Hamilton for 25 years now. He's one of the best assistant coaches in all of college basketball. He's in the assistant coaches Hall of Fame that just opened last year. He knows what to run in what situation.
Yeah, and how about Stan Jones? Because, like you said, he's been with Leonard Hamilton forever, and I'm surprised that he never has taken advantage of being a head coach of his own. So it just shows his humility and how much he loves being a part of the Florida State program.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's tried to get those head coaching positions, and maybe the right one hasn't opened up, or teams just don't want to take a chance because he's an older coach.
Yeah.
But he's by far one of the best assistant coaches in all of college basketball, and everyone knows that.
Next question comes from Del Taco 2528. I like that name too. That ad's pretty dumb lit, like the kids say.
Just read the question.
It's only 2 words. Get through it.
All right. The 2 words from Del Taco 2528 asks, Balsa update, ?
So he's talking about Balsa Koprivica, the 7-foot center out of some country in Europe. I forget. I completely slipped my mind. I forgot. Yeah, that's right. I was going to say Serbia too. But he hurt his back in the Georgia Tech game. We were expecting him to be out a couple of weeks. When I was at the Wake Forest game last night and just talking to some of the old people on the team, they're saying he's still in a lot of pain, but they're hoping he'll be able to work through it soon.
Let's see here. From I'm McCall U asks, Malik is big time, obviously, but with Balsa out hurt and Oblia Jack, I know y'all have already said it a few times, but Oblia Jack being a slaw dog with no mustard. Exactly how big time has Malik been in the 5 spot?
He's been money. I mean, I talked about it before the season in my previews that I really thought Florida State could have success if they went small ball with Malik at the 5. And I just didn't think Coach Hamilton would do it because he's always revolved his defense around gargantuan 7-footers. But with Balsa out, and Dom's good, he just hasn't had the time. And in the system that Malik's had, even if that's just a year is a huge difference. But Malik's killing it. He gives him so much versatility offensively and defensively because you can switch 1 through 5. Defense is swarming all over the floor, getting in passing lanes, blocking shots from the weak side. And then on offense, we saw it last night with the dagger shot where Malik got the pick and pop, open 3, and nailed it. He's been great. I couldn't have asked for any more from Malik.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it enough. We love how Malik Osborne is playing. What he brings to this team on both ends has been great. He spent pretty much all of his time last night as a small ball 5. Olegnechuk only had 7 minutes played to Osborne's 21. So as he continues to just get even more and more comfortable in this system and his chemistry with the guys on this team, I think he's just going to get more and more playing time at that spot as we move deeper into the season.
And he would have had more than 21 minutes last night if he didn't get in foul trouble.
He only had 2 fouls.
Yeah, but those 2 fouls were in the first half. And he had to sit with 10 minutes to go, which is why Harrison Prieto played 10 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, and Harrison looked pretty good out there.
Harrison should have had 3 blocks, and Jamie Lucky, I'm coming for your head.
He did miss an easy layup, though.
Yeah, but he did have 2 putback layups, so, I mean, he made up for it.
The next question comes from Weston Perry 11. Asks, does Florida State have any chance with Jalen Green? Jalen Green's a 5-star coming out of Napa, California. He's ranked as the second best California basketball player out of California. And that's my basketball analysis there. So does Florida State have any chance with Jalen Green, Dustin, and Austin?
Well, they're asking this because of his known relationship with Scotty Barnes, who is signed to Florida State currently. And they have gone on record saying they would like to play college basketball together. And Jalen Green visited Florida State with Scotty Barnes. Oh, Lord, voice crack.
Kirk Cousins impression.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the playoffs. But I highly doubt Jalen Green's coming. His crystal ball right now is split between Memphis and Oregon, which I would agree with. When he was on his visit, I was still there, and he looked somewhat disinterested, especially compared to Scotty Barnes, who was really into everything. We'll see. I don't think we have much of a chance, though.
Yeah, I'll just say it, Austin. No chance.
Okay.
I hope it happens, so you are wrong. So, next question comes from Meehan Linda. She asks, how'd we get so good? It's a good question. It is a good question. I mean, yes. Florida State is now a basketball school, right, Austin?
Absolutely. We've been in basketball school for 3 years. So to answer this, you have to go back to when Florida State won the ACC championship in 2012. After that year, the college basketball changed their defensive rules and took out a lot of what Coach Hamilton wanted to do. So he's had to rebuild his entire system from the ground up, and they have a system that fits modern college basketball to a T. And now that they've had time to develop it and perfect it and get the guys that fit that system, you get the Trent Forrest, you get the Malik Osbornes, you get the Devin Vassell's. They're scouting better, they're recruiting better, and it's led to better production on both the offensive and defensive end.
Yeah, I think the difference for me really has been the recruiting. You bring up that 2012 ACC championship. After that, for 3 or 4 years, Florida State went a couple cycles without a full class and without landing some quality players. A couple guys didn't qualify and a couple guys transferred out. So the talent just wasn't there. And then Hamilton has slowly just rebuilt the talent, and he's brought in guys that haven't went pro after 1 year. I mean, a couple guys have, obviously, but most of these guys play 3 to 4 years at Florida State and are experienced in this system. So you have a good mix of both experienced talent and young talent coming in that can just continue to mesh with each other. And when that older talent moves on, the younger talent are now the veterans, and the cycle just continues on. That's what we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years.
And he's always said his 1 through 5 is not going to beat you, but his 1 through 10 will, especially with how the depth is and with his system. And he keeps bringing guys in. you keep recruiting guys to that system that want to help each other out and want to give everyone else the ball and give a chance to shine, it's going to lead to better recruiting, like we've seen with Jonathan Isaac, Dwayne Bacon, Terrence Mann, Malik Beasley, Scotty Barnes for next season.
Yeah, it's just getting better.
Yeah. I think it's either next week or the week after they've got another 5-star coming to visit. So having that system where you're saying you're not going to have to do everything, that can speak to a kid who wants to save his body for the league.
Next question comes from Nick Ritter. What's North Carolina's problem? Also, name the true challengers to FSU for the ACC championship.
North Carolina's problem is they can't score. And that's what basketball is. If you can't put the ball in the basket, you're going to lose. This is North Carolina's worst offense since since Roy Williams has been with North Carolina. They're averaging just over 70 points a game, which is by far their worst since he got there in 2003. And their defense has never been good. They've just never been great defensive teams. They want to get out in transition and push the pace. With Cole Anthony hurt, that takes away all their pushing in transition. That takes away their ball movement. And that takes away their main scoring threat. Once he gets back, they'll start winning games. Not like how they should, but they'll start winning games and not lose to Georgia Tech and Pitt at home.
Yeah, I think North Carolina's issues really, they've just been magnified with Cole Anthony out. We've seen what Roy Williams said about his team talent-wise, and I kind of agree with him. In fact, North Carolina, it reminds me of what I was just talking about with Florida State's recruiting. The last couple cycles, they've gotten some one and done guys, but they haven't gotten the guys that stick around in your program for a couple years. So they don't have the overall talent right now to be a top tier ACC team, which is honestly crazy because I feel like every year since I've been alive that I've watched college basketball, North Carolina's always been towards the top of the conference. But to finish off the question, I think the biggest challenger for the ACC championship at this point is Duke. And until Florida State beats Duke, they're going to be second place.
Yeah, going back to North Carolina, just briefly to your point about their recruiting, last year alone they lost Kobe White, who was a freshman, and Nasir Little, who was a freshman. Then you also lost guys like Cameron Johnson and Luke May, who are mainstays in that program. This year they try to place that production with grad transfers and Christian Keelan and Justin Pierce, who are both double-digit scorers at the mid-major level, and they're combining to score 10 points a game between the two of them. And that's just not enough production.
Yeah, that's rough.
And, yeah, to finish off the question, I agree with you. Duke's the main contender for the ACC championship. And don't count out Louisville. I know we just beat them by 13 on the road. But that's a really great and really experienced team, and they're not going to lose many more games from here on out.
Yeah, I would say Duke and Louisville are the two to be the most concerned about. Maybe Virginia if they start to find life on offense later in the year.
I would say that offense is so anemic.
If they figure out how to score, they're gonna be good.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more in the preview next week. But golly, that offense is bad.
GR Knoll 15 asks with the final questions regarding basketball. Would a repeat against the Zags scare you both?
Yeah, so obviously he's referring to we played Gonzaga 2 years in a row in the Sweet 16. This year they're the number one team again. I don't know that it would scare me that much, honestly. I know they're playing right now as we're recording this, and they're winning 70-28 over the University of San Diego. But their first 2 games in conference against Pepperdine and I forget who the other team was, but they didn't look great. They only won by a few possessions. Obviously, Killian Tilly is a great player for Gonzaga, and Mark Few is going to keep bringing in great foreign players and great transfers in that keep the program alive. But they don't have the talent that scared me as much as the last 2 seasons have.
Yeah, I just think if like we've seen before, Florida State, they can harass a team like Gonzaga with their length and their defensive intensity, and that's exactly 2 things that the Seminoles this year do very well. They're very long and they play great defense. So as long as they can continue coming along on the offensive side of the ball, I wouldn't mind another matchup with Gonzaga.
Yeah, and with this season in college basketball, there's no truly elite team. Florida State's going to be able to keep up with anybody you throw at them.
Well, that will conclude all of our Q&As from both football and basketball. Thank you guys a lot, as always, for giving us questions and creates good content on here. We actually got quite a good amount of really good questions on here tonight, boys. Really testing our knowledge. Or should I say y'all's knowledge? Not really me.
Yeah, you didn't really say anything.
I didn't really help out, did I?
Yeah.
Well, like you said,
you did it was like very inconsistent. You would answer
man.
a couple questions, then you would just stop.
Yeah, well, I mean, I give y'all the floor. This is y'all's stuff. And most certainly basketball. I feel like
we know you don't really know anything. It's all right.
Yeah, I know. I'm just here to be what is the host? I'm just the host, moderator, I guess you can say, and I just lead the guys with the talent to do their thing. Definitely when it comes to basketball, I feel like I will most certainly screw something up basketball wise. I just give my 2 cents on that segment. But yeah, if you guys are ever interested in giving us a question every week, we usually put out a tweet on our personals. You can actually go to the description below on the podcast and you can follow the guys there. And we usually try to tweet out. You can give us questions and we'll answer. We pretty much try to answer every one of them in every podcast. So yeah, we definitely want to do this during the off season and hopefully maybe during football season too. So make sure you're following us at Hear the Spear. So yeah, let's go and jump into round 3 of our Hear the Spear FSU trivia. Both Dustin and Austin are playing to show off their Florida State athletics knowledge and what they think they know about the sports here in Tallahassee. I believe we do have a tie currently between Austin and Dustin. Dustin won last week. Austin won the first week. So here we go. Are you guys ready?
More than ever.
Don't sound too excited.
Sure.
Seems nervous. In what year did Dalvin Cook win the Jim Brown Award? I repeat, in what year did Dalvin Cook win the Jim Brown Award? Get 8 seconds left.
2016.
Yeah, 16 was going to be my guess as well.
3. In year 2015.
God, dang it, I knew it was 15 or 16. Dang it.
Yes, how about that?
I guess, yeah, because he didn't miss any games at 15, right? I guess that makes more sense.
Yeah.
He had a better year in 16 than 15, though.
Yeah, but you know, those awards, you know.
They're trash?
Yeah. I'm not calling Jim Brown trash, just his award.
Not Jim Brown, yeah.
Just want to make that clear.
Okay, so Austin, Dustin, both believe Jim Brown's trash, so. All right, let's see. Let's go. This is all going to be awards segmented, so you guys better know which these players and what years and all this kind of stuff that they won. So, all right, let's go on to round 2 here. Week 3, John Mackey Award for the best tight end. And what year did Nick O'Leary win that?
2013.
For the best tight end in the country. In 2014, he won that award.
What? Who won it in 13? Hold on.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Unless
Austin
something's
Safarian
wrong.
Jenkins? Bruh.
There you go. So you kids need to do y'all's.
We're so
Let's get to the
close.
next question. Hurry up.
I'm sorry. All right, let's see. We got another one here. In what year did Chris Winkie win the Sammy Baugh Trophy Award for the best passer in the country?
2000.
Hopefully I said the last name right. Sammy Baugh. I'm sure I'm screwing that up, but
2000.
5 seconds. 4, 3. Everybody's final answer.
One of us just won.
1. 0. Dustin Lewis is going to take the lead. And FSU trivia. In 2000, Chris Winkie won the Sammy Baugh Trophy award for the best passer in the country. Chris Winkie was obviously also a Heisman Award winner. And yeah, there it is. Dustin Lewis takes a 2-1 lead. How you feeling, Dustin?
I guess
you finally have a lead. I don't know if you've ever had a lead in that FSU or in Hear the Spirit trivia.
Did I win the very first one? I think I might have had a 1-0 lead in 2019, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be up 2-1 this year. Lead. Yeah, 1-0. After that, I lost a lot, but hey, 2020, the energy over here is different. So Austin, better watch out.
I'd just like to point out I went to Chris Winkie's Wikipedia, and it doesn't even list the Sammy Baugh Award. So I had to Google the Sammy Baugh Award to see if it was actually a thing, and it is. But still, a very unimportant award. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Oh, there we go. But still, you are down by a point to Dustin
I
Lewis.
won season 1.
So,
I'll win season 2. We're 3 podcasts in.
We got a lot of podcasts right now. We're now, if I'm doing my math correctly, if we're gonna try to do 2 podcasts a week, we're gonna have 104 podcasts. So you got another 101 podcasts to go, and you might be able to catch up to Dustin.
What do we do if someone starts just destroying?
Well, then I'm gonna be really disappointed. But there might be some weeks. And I'm not a freaking Jeopardy host. I don't know how to do game shows. Goddamn.
Then why'd you start hosting one here?
Well, because I thought it'd be fun for content. And yeah, but I will go and guarantee you now, though, there will be a sizable award at the end of the season. So there will be a big time award. Yes. So I would definitely start studying a little bit. There will be a good award at the end of all this.
He's not saying what the award is because he doesn't even know.
I don't, because I just made that up.
It's a really big award. It's big.
The reward is the microphone he promised you.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, exactly. Well, before we end the podcast, we will keep this segment here no matter what. We're going to keep it more PG-13, and the show is always going to stay explicit no matter what. But we were on our best behavior this week. But I do think that we do need to give off our fun facts that the guys find on the internet every week. They can be weird, they can be nasty, can be strange, they can be eye-opening. Like we learned about Dustin Lewis and how much fast food he eats because of the amount of pubes that are in fast food. And that's, if you haven't listened to that podcast, I highly suggest doing that. That was a very life-changing episode. So while the guys are looking through their fun facts here, we're still looking here. Oh, we always wait till last minute. Oh, you have yours?
Yeah.
Okay. I got mine too. This is an interesting one, which I would have never thought. But go ahead, Dustin. You start us off. Fun fact on Hear the Spear, week 4, or episode 4.
All right, back to PG-13 facts. Here we go. The longest wedding veil was longer than 63 football fields.
A veil? Oh, like from
the veil on a wedding dress.
That had to be annoying to walk with.
That's like 6,300 yards. Like, imagine how dirty that dress was.
630.
What?
It's not 6,300.
How do you figure? 63 times. What's 63 times 100?
Oh,
bro?
Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah, I know. I'm
stupid.
Yeah.
It's been a long week, man.
Oh, there it is.
Well, I'm just saying, imagine how dirty that dress was by the time. I don't even know how they collected the rest of it. If it was really that, it doesn't make sense to me. that it was that long.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be in like a cleared field too, I would imagine, right? You can't just do that in the street.
Well, dude, it's going on for 6,300 straight yards.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Almost 19,000 feet.
How many miles is that? A mile is like 5,000 something feet, right?
It's 4 miles.
Are we gonna try to figure this out right now?
Let's not do math here. All right, move on.
Yeah, we've already seen how that went.
Yeah.
All right, my fun fact.
Yeah.
Next. In 2008, Switzerland passed a law where it is illegal to own just one guinea pig at a time because guinea pigs get lonely.
In 2008, that was made.
Yes, it's a social rights law.
Wow. So if anybody on Hear the Spear intends on going to live in Switzerland and buy a guinea pig, you're not buying just one, you're getting two. And I don't know how they would check in on that. I don't know how that goes.
Well, I'm assuming when someone goes to buy a guinea pig, they can't just buy one.
But what if you tell them you already own one?
Well, the assumption is going to be, well, if you can't have just one guinea pig, you must have already bought two the last time you got guinea pigs.
But what if you had one guinea pig before the law was in place? So then
if you have a guinea pig in 2020 from 2008, that's a hell of a guinea pig.
Yeah, I don't know what the lifespan is on those things, honestly.
Well, that's what Google for.
Let's see, what's the lifespan?
Guinea pig lifespan 4 to 8 years.
Yeah, so that thing.
That's a hell of a guinea pig if it's alive 12 years later.
Dustin has guinea pigs on roids.
Says the record for the oldest guinea pig was 14 years and 10.5 months old.
Yeah, so
and it was named Snowball.
Wow.
Snowball died in 1979.
Rest in peace, Snowball. We miss you.
Yes, we did. That's actually the name of my mic that I use for podcasts. Anyway, let's move on to my fun fact. Yeah, my fun fact is bananas are curved because they grow towards the sun. So whenever you're around I guess you call them a bunch of bananas, look at them when they're growing and they're directed towards the sun. But the sun moves throughout the day. So do they like revolve? Like do they move around?
I don't know, dude. I thought bananas just grow in a tree.
Yeah, how about you sit in front of a banana tree for a few weeks and let us know what happens?
Yeah, I might go ahead and do that.
If they're growing towards the sun, wouldn't they have to like grow up? You know, like pointing up in the air?
There's that whole gravity thing.
What's that?
I don't know, something about an apple.
I don't believe in gravity, for what it's worth.
Oh, God. All right.
Also, I think the Earth is flat.
I mean, he is a Celtics fan. He got it from Kyrie.
Oh. Yeah. He'll do anything that a Celtics player does.
Kyrie is not a Celtics player.
He was a Celtics player.
He was also a bitch.
Yeah, so was Rondo.
Nah.
Rondo was a bitch.
Rondo didn't force his way out of Boston. He was a bitch in Dallas.
Yeah,
100.
he was horrible in Dallas. And I bought a jersey.
I can understand why you'd hate Rondo if you were a Mavericks fan, for sure.
He got an 8-second call in the playoffs.
You don't have to tell me. I watch it live because I was hoping Rondo would do good in the playoffs.
I was hoping he'd be anything in the playoffs.
Anyways, the rest of Knoll Nation isn't going to be here for your NBA talk. If you're going to bring that to the table, then y'all just start your own little podcast thing, and y'all just.
Well, that's why we're talking. They're probably already gone.
Yeah, they most likely are.
If you're still listening, tweet: is Rondo a bitch or no?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, please do that. That is why I'm the moderator, and they are not the moderator. I'm gonna be like out of nowhere, be shocked that I'm getting replies on Twitter. Saying,
Rondo's
bitch,
a bitch.
bitch. And I'm gonna think, wait, what did we do to be called a bitch?
The first person to reply bitch to Hear the Spear, I will PayPal you $1.
I was going to say follow back because you don't even follow me still on Twitter. It's 2020. And
I follow you.
What? Well, Dustin Lewis is going to really break his bank and give you $1 if you are still listening to this podcast. So whoever tweets us first with bitch, it's going to be like scary at first, but hopefully I'll remember. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. It was loaded with a lot of stuff, mainly questions, and there's still a lot going on with Mike Norvell's staff. So we do plan on recording, like we said, on Tuesday with Arya Sudi. Excited about having him on to preview the Virginia game, and there's still going to be a lot of Florida State stuff to discuss. As always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you hit the like button and leave a comment below, it would mean a lot. It would help. Also, if you're on iTunes, make sure you hit the subscribe button also there so you'll be notified whenever we release a new episode. Like I said earlier, if you're listening through the website, make sure you guys go to one of these platforms, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes. There's a lot of ways you guys can listen and make it a little bit easier on yourselves. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us at Hear the Spear. But I think that will do it. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, we greatly appreciate a lot of you new listeners giving us a chance. Obviously, we are still learning, and we've got a long ways to go, and we're very an interesting group here, just to say the least. But we definitely appreciate you guys listening to us a couple of days throughout the week. And we hope to see you guys in the next episode, episode 5 on Hear the Spear, to be on season 3. Thank you, guys.
I'm pretty sure next episode will be the 4th.
No, this is episode 4. The next one will be 5th.
No,
this one's 3.
You're
Thanks
wrong.
for playing. Thanks for playing. Thanks for trying.
This one's 3.
Yeah, this is 3.
This is 3, but then they'll be listening to 4. Okay. You know what? I'm tired. I had school this morning.
You told me you didn't go to class.
Don't put that on the podcast. All right. See you guys later. Have a good week.
Mama